Shilo was an ancient city in Samaria mentioned in the Hebrew Bible. It has been positively identified with modern Khirbet Seilun, a tell or archaeological mound, dubbed in Modern Hebrew Tel Shiloh. It is located near modern Shiloh, south of ancient Tirzah and 16 kilometres north of Beth El.Shiloh was the major Israelite cultic center before the first temple was built in Jerusalem. The meaning of the word Shilo is unclear. Sometimes it is translated as the messianic title that means he whose it is, or as pacificator, a tranquility that refers to the Samaritan Pentateuch. Regardless, the name of Shilo, the town, is derived from and may be translated as tranquility town. Location mentioned in the time of the Genesis, Book of Joshua and Judges. Shilo is situated north of Bethel, east of the Bethel-Shechem highway, and south of Lebanon in the hill country of Ephraim. Shilo was identified unambiguously with Khirbet Seilun by American philologist E. Robinson in 1838. The location had been established long before by the Roman writer Eusebius and by Nestorius Harper. High history. Biblical period. Long before the advent of the Israelites, Shilo, in the Ephraimite hill country, was a walled city with a religious shrine, a sanctuary during Middle and Late Bronze Age Canaan. When the Israelites arrived in the land, they set up the ancient wilderness tent shrine, and the Joshua divided the land among the tribes. Subsequently, Shilo became one of the leading religious shrines in ancient Israel, a status it held until shortly before David's elevation of Jerusalem. Shilo is mentioned in the Hebrew Bible as an assembly place for the people of Israel. Technically, Shilo was the site of the tent of meeting which was set up when Joshua apportioned the land among the various Israelite tribes. In this sense, the tent of meeting is to be distinguished from the dwelling place, often translated tabernacle. The whole congregation of Israel assembled and set up the tabernacle of the congregation, built under Moses' direction from God to house the Ark of the Covenant, also built under Moses' direction from God. According to Talmudic sources, the tent sanctuary remained at Shilo for 369 years until the Ark of the Covenant was taken into the battle camp at Ebenezer and captured by the Philistines at Aphek. At some point during its long stay at Shilo, the portable tent seems to have been enclosed within a compound, a Greek temenos. According to I Samuel chapters 1-3, Shilo was the site of a physical structure that had doors. At some point, the tent of meeting was moved to Gibeon, which became an Israelite holy site under David and Solomon. Shilo was one of the main centers of Israelite worship during the pre-monarchic period, by virtue of the presence there of the tent shrine and Ark of the Covenant. The people made pilgrimages there for major feasts and sacrifices, and Judges chapter 21 records the place as the site of an annual dance of maidens among the vineyards. According to I Samuel chapters 1-3, the sanctuary at Shilo was administered by the Aaronite high priest Eli and his two sons, Hophni and Phinehas. According to this account, the young Samuel was dedicated by his mother Hannah there to be raised at the shrine by the high priest, and his own prophetic ministry is presented as having begun there. It was under Eli and his sons that the ark was lost to Israel in a battle with the Philistines at Aphek. The great biblical historian and archaeologist W. F. Albright hypothesized that the Philistines also destroyed Shilo at this time, but this conclusion is disputed. The place may have been destroyed later as well, and the biblical text records no such claimed destruction. Certainly, the shadowy figure of Ahijah the Shilonite, who instigated the revolt of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, against David's grandson Rehoboam, came from there, and he bore, interestingly, the same name as the Aaronite priest that consulted the ark for Saul in I Samuel chapter 14 verse 3. It is also not clear that the narratives of I Samuel are in chronological order here, since Saul is represented as carrying the ark into battle. Shli has claimed that the capture of the ark and the death of Saul occurred in the same battle, and that the later Davidic editors redacted the current text to make it appear as if Saul had ruled without either tent, shrine or ark, and thus without sacral legitimacy. However, this claim has not been proven either. What is certain is that during the prophetic ministry of Jeremiah over 300 years later, Shiloh had been reduced to ruins. Jeremiah used the example of Shiloh to warn the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem what Yahweh Elohim will do to the place where I caused my name to dwell, warning them that the holy city, Jerusalem, like Shiloh, could fall under divine judgment. Ambiguous use of Shiloh in Hebrew Bible. Shiloh is mentioned in the Hebrew Bible in Genesis chapter 49 verse 10 as part of the benediction given by Jacob to his son Judah. It could be a figure, perhaps the Messiah, or a place, as mentioned later in Judges and also in Jeremiah chapter 41 verse 5. A resident of Shiloh was the prophet Chia mentioned in I Kings chapter 14. Christian period Street. Jerome, in his letter to Paula and Eustochius, dated about 392 to 393, writes, "With Christ at our side we shall pass through Shiloh and Bethel." The official Church of Jerusalem did not schedule an annual pilgrimage to Shiloh, unlike Bethel. On the contrary, Samuel's feast was held on August 20th in the village of Massepha. Even the pilgrims seemingly did not visit Shiloh, for the only one that mentions its name, the 6th century pilgrim Theodosius, wrongly locates it midway between Jerusalem and Emmaus. The mistaken identification lasted for centuries, as appears, for example, on the Florentine map of 1300, which places Shiloh at Nebi Samuel, where the tomb of Samuel is found. The mosaic map of Madaba wrongly locates Shiloh east of Shechem, omitting depiction of the church. Messianic Christians became attached to Shiloh as a result of the verse, "The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh comes, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be." Shiloh is believed to refer to Jesus by some Christians. Alternative translations have led others, including some Christians, to different conclusions. Muslim period. In 638 the Muslims conquered the area of Palestine. Muslim pilgrims to Shiloh mention a mosque called Es-Sakinah where the memory of Jacob's and Joseph's deeds was revered. The earliest source is Al-Harawi, who visited the country in 1173 when it was occupied by the Crusaders, and wrote, "Seilun is the village of the mosque Es-Sakinah where the stone of the table is found." Jaquet and El-Qurani write similarly. Archaeological excavations have shown that the place was already settled from about 1750 BCE. However, it is not mentioned in any pre-biblical source. And many impressive remains have been unearthed from the Canaanite and Israelite eras, with habitation lasting until the 8th century BCE. During the following 12 centuries, Shiloh is solely noted as a station on sojourners' routes, usually having only its religious historical significance to offer. Archaeological excavations have revealed remains from the Roman and Persian as well as early and late Muslim periods. An impressive glacis has been located and pottery, animal remains, weapons and other objects have been recovered. Soundings were first made in 1922 by A.G.E. Schmidt, a Danish team led by Hans Kjar excavated for 3 seasons between the years 1926 to 32. A probe was done by Sven Holm Nielsen and Marie-Louise Boule in 1963. An extensive excavation was done by Israel Finkelstein during the years 1981 to 84. Finkelstein's work established 8 strata, ranging from Middle Bronze to Byzantine. A massive wall is attributed to the Middle Bronze 3-stage, preserved at a height of 7.3 meters and width up to 5.5 meters. With an extensive glacis, the iron eye remains yielded a pillared 2-story public building near the top of the Tel, the earliest attributed to Israelites. Collared rim storage jars and some cultic items were found in these buildings, pointing to usage as part of a cultic complex. More than 20 silos were uncovered from this era, included one with carbonized wheat. The destruction layer evident throughout the Tel may have occurred in the wake of the Philistine victory at Ebenezer. One of the more intriguing finds was that of a heap of pottery outside the city wall before the advent of the Israelite culture. This pile of pottery was the remnant of a number of animal sacrifices, which were tossed over the wall after completion of the ritual and then buried. This find points to a sacral status of Shilo during the Canaanite period, a status adopted by the Israelites. The top of the Tel, where Finkelstein supposes that the tabernacle would have been placed, is now exposed bedrock, offering no clues concerning Israelite worship. According to radiocarbon dating by Finkelstein, the site was abandoned around 1050 BCE, and thence sparsely repopulated during the Iron II period. Jeremiah's admonition, "Go now to my place that was in Shiloh," in the course of his temple sermon would have occurred during this era. More substantive villages emerged in Roman and Byzantine periods. Excavations from 2006 to 2007, carried out adjacent to and just south of Tel Shiloh, exposed elaborate mosaic floors as well as several Greek inscriptions, one explicitly referring to the site as the village of Shiloh. During August-September 2006, archaeological excavations were carried out adjacent to the Tel of Shiloh. A team led by the Archaeological Staff Officer for Judea and Samaria in Israel's Civilian Administration Antiquities Unit, performing a clean-up operation at Shiloh this summer, a belated continuation to a previous 1998 dig, discovered the mosaic floor of a large Byzantine church which was probably constructed between 380 and 420 AD. 3 Byzantine basilicas have now been uncovered. The length of one, excavated by Hans Klar in the late 1920s, is 40 meters. The width, also measured externally, is 14.10 meters, but a 6.40 meter wide room adjoins the building on the south side. This church had 3 naves, and 12 bases and 2 beautiful Corinthian capitals 62 centimeters high and 72 to 61 centimeters wide are preserved. Their appearance recalls the well-known 4th century style, with separate leaves revealing the ribbing of the back leaves, and a smooth leaf under the corner. A structure discovered in 2006 lies under a Muslim freestanding structure known as Weli-Yetim. It seems to have suffered problems of water drainage in its western section despite the installation of runoff pipes and troughs. It appears that the solution was to raise the level of the church and the laying of a new mosaic floor. It was the older, original floor at the lower level that was revealed during the summer of 2006. The mosaic contains geometric designs, across, flora representations and 3 inscriptions. 1. A dedication of a bench. The second, a salute to the residents of Seilun. And the third, a general wish for good tidings. Another discovery of an addition to one of the basilicas occurred in 2013.